Finally, it is here. Live start points are something I've been looking forward to since EA teased them in one of the pre-release deep dives, and I'm not exaggerating when I say this could be the biggest change career mode has had since I started making videos back in 2020. Creator Club was a big addition, don't get me wrong, but it had so many flaws and nobody uses it anymore. Live start points could be absolutely massive. I can't actually believe it took this many years for EA to add this feature, because it's possibly the best addition the career mode has had in a decade. It adds so many new scenarios, so many fun saves, and even if you don't use it, there should be tons of improvements for career mode in the future. Imagine the amount of AI-powered deep learning that EA can do with this much match simulation data. I've got no doubt that this should make regular careers even better in the future. So if you haven't already heard, live start points have been added by a fairly big update, and we've actually got a decent amount of them to begin with. They allow you to start at specific points in a season without having to start back in July. You can start midway through August, you can start midway through November, and EA is going to add more and more of them as we go through the year. There are 11 leagues that have them. The Premier League, La Liga, and the EFL Championship will probably be the three most popular, but the Italian, German, and French men's leagues also have this feature available. The big 5 women's leagues also have this as a feature, and it's not just the leagues that are updated though. Every single Champions League, Europa League, and Conference League, as well as the Women's Champions League, is also simulated when you choose a live start point. I'm so happy that this is included because you'll get so many interesting matchups later in these competitions, especially if EA decides to update some of the start points between ties. It could give you so many fun ideas. Could you come back from that PSG 4-0 advantage they had over Barcelona in 2017? Well, if something like that happens again in the next few months, you'll be able to find out. The further we go into the season, the more interesting some of these scenarios will actually become. Could Ajax have really won the Champions League back in 2018 or 19? Do you remember when Apoel Nicosia made it to the quarterfinals of the Champions League back in 2012? Well, that's something that would be happening inside your save as well. And I can't believe EA have just dropped something like this with barely any notice. Usually their patch notes are the most basic stuff, like, hey, we slightly changed how much a finesse shot can curl, but this time not only have we got a brand new feature, but also this massive deep dive article to go with it. I've linked that in the description of this video, and I recommend you read it after watching this video if you still have any questions, but you might be wondering now, how does this feature actually work? Well, it's super easy to use. You head over to the menu right here, you click on live start points, and then you pick the week that you want to start on. Like I said earlier, there is already quite a few of these you can pick from, but after you've chosen one, you go straight into either creating a manager or choosing a real manager, just like in regular manager mode. The game will vividly above Manchester United, Arsenal, and Chelsea. Well, that's exactly what live start points allow you to do. It's something that's very unlikely to happen in a regular career mode save, and it instantly becomes such a fun starting point. You can also see the value of live starting points if you're a fan of someone like Fiorentina. If you haven't already seen, this club is making a proper storm for the title in Serie A, and they've won 7 of their last 8 games when no one was expecting anything of them this season. Thanks to live updates, we now have 3 fun scenarios we can use with Fiorentina. The first is starting the season as normal, building up your squad and seeing if you can match it. The second is taking over Fiorentina just before the win streak started, when they were in the lower half of the table, the transfer window had already closed and things were quite tough. Or you can try the third one, which is probably even more interesting. Can you keep this run going and take Fiorentina to the title? I think it's so much more interesting having the real results already played and the table up to date, and sure, we could have done something similar with Fiorentina before using Live Editor and a lot of mods, but I just love the idea of easily continuing with the exact same squad and the exact same league table as real life. At the other end of the table, we also have some cool scenarios with struggling teams and seeing if you can keep them up. Of course, this kind of save will only get better as we get further through the season, but even clubs like Wolves will be really fun to use as part of this new update. With 11 games gone, they've only just won their first match and have a few good fixtures coming up too. Now that we have live start points, we can take over, become their manager, and see if we can recover from their dreadful start to still somehow qualify for Europe or even just reach the top half. As the season keeps progressing, you might see a team like Southampton ending up being a dozen points from safety, and again, you have a totally new scenario that you just don't get when you start the season in August. Will you be able to do a Wigan-like great escape with a team like Southampton or Ipswich? Well, we'll have to find out in a couple of months' time. I think it's very important to say that this feature will just keep getting better and better, but only if EA decide to support it properly. Like I said at the start of the video, Create a Club had the potential to be huge, but EA never really developed it. They never added features that people wanted, like sponsors, and because of that, the game mode kinda died and is just a little bit boring. I think that EA's probably going to give us batches of live start points throughout the season, rather than a weekly update like we get for squad ratings, which is kind of annoying. For example, if someone like Brighton went on to win their next 10 games just like Fiorentina has, this won't be reflected with live start points until sometime in January, and by then they might have lost a couple of games and the hype's probably died down and no one would want to use them. Whereas in the middle of this win streak, loads of people would want to see if they could continue it. So overall, I think that this is a massive update that can make a lot of people enjoy playing short career modes on FC25. Don't forget that it is also available with player career. I've only spoken about manager mode right now, but even though it's just been released, I can think of one obvious way that this can be improved. So imagine this, on FC25 you boot it up, you press a Premier League team, and you can choose any game week since 1992. This would be a nightmare to license with all of the players, clubs and sponsors, but if we could select past seasons, even if it was only a very specific set of players or a specific scenario where EA only has to license maybe 2 or 3 teams in a cup competition, I think this could be career mode heaven. There was so many interesting scenarios out there that people will never get to try, like could you beat Derby's 11 points total from back in 2008? Could you stop the Invincibles being invincible by beating them with someone like Bolton in 2004? Well, it's just a dream for me right now. Hopefully modders could figure this out, that would be amazing. Hopefully EA would one day be able to implement something like this. Hopefully you agree with me that this is a huge update, and if you've got any scenarios you think people should try once you've had a look around the live start updates, then please do let me know in the comments. Like I said, I'll be making a video with a couple of the best teams I can find very soon, so make sure you subscribe if you're interested in seeing that. But until then, thank you so much for watching, I'll see you soon, cheers and goodbye.